Football made simple. Become great at your craft by finding ways to make it simple for those around you. This is the Coaching 101 podcast hosted by Find a Way Productions with your co-hosts, Daniel Chamberlain and Kenny Simpson. Good morning, coaches. This is the Coaching 101 podcast. I am Daniel Chamberlain. That is Coach Kenny Simpson. Coach, we are about almost halfway through February now. Clinics are flying off the shelf. The coaching carousel is going crazy. The Super Bowl occurred, so we're done with football officially, with watching ball for the year. It's been kind of a wild week for all of that going on.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, we had our state conventions. I know a lot of our coaches were able to go see that. That's basically a giant social where a lot of coaches are getting together and hear all the gossip about who might go where and who might go here, and get to meet all the, Arkansas hired a new head football coach for the college, so getting to meet their staff, and so a lot of our coaches were able to enjoy that. I was back here running a gun tea clinic, so we have the national clinic that same weekend. So a lot of my guys helped me Friday, and then they kind of snuck down there and went over there on Saturday. So we had 14 different states come up here and represent in Arkansas, which is kind of cool to always watch them get together. And the same deal, all their states are the same. It's coaching carousel and state conventions going on and clinics going on. So that's kind of where we are.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad Oklahoma got our winter clinic out of the way earlier in the year. So it, kind of opens up the springtime. And it was a good one too. Like, it's the first winter clinic I think I ever went to. Our big one's always in the summer, which I'm sure everybody has a big summer one as well. But it seems like summer's where you go to kind of learn some ball. Winter's where you go to find a job. That's kind of what I was told. Like, that's
Well, I mean, most state conventions, that the point of them is not to learn some nuance that's going to help you win a game. You may get a good culture speech there, probably, but I would imagine most guys that are speaking in state are probably going pretty guarded with scheme type deals. And, a lot of times, like you said, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, if you need to go get a job or like for me, when I have to hire a coach, it's kind of good to know, who are the rising coaches that are coming up, and fraternity of coaches to hang out. So if that's what you're looking for in a clinic, then, that's a good opportunity. I know that there are other clinics. We're sending our staff to Dallas to go to a Glazier clinic to kind of get exposed to different types of clinics.
Yeah.
I'm just, now that I've run my own, I'm such a believer in, I know you're helping Joe do the same thing, where if you want to learn a scheme or a system, or I think you're just better off just go to a clinic that's only going to talk about that. And so that's kind of where I've lived and what we do.
Oh yeah, I love it, man. Let's knock out this quote of the week. We'll jump through our ads real fast, and then we'll get into the conversation today.
Yeah, quote of the week, Abraham Lincoln. I thought it was
a good
pretty
one.
Good ones. Yeah, always good with him. It says discipline. That was the theme of the week. This is coming from Team Themes Volume number 6, which I'll try to get out before the season. So look for it in June. But I have Team Themes Volumes 1 through 5. They are out over at fbcoachsimpson.com. This one, the theme was discipline. It says discipline is choosing between what you want now and what you want most. And I think that's pretty much nail on the head there by Abraham Lincoln. The idea of giving up short-term pleasure or short-term goals for long-term achievements. All of us know that, I believe. We're just not always disciplined enough to actually live that way.
Yeah, for sure. Discipline is one of those. I like that quote, and the other one I've heard is like, discipline makes today hard and tomorrow easy.
Right. And then, I talked to myself about, I want the future Coach Simpson to be proud of the past.
Yes. Yeah, man, all those are super good, but discipline, it is hard. I guess we'll jump into ads this way. I just literally this morning got done with a 3.5 mile run because I'm doing the GWAT 100. So if you guys are GWAT veterans, even if you're not, like my wife and a whole bunch of our friends, I think we've got probably 10 maybe or 15 in our group that are running, but we're all trying to get 100 miles individually in the month of February of movement. And of course, Sam and I are huge advocates for just go move, go be healthy, eat healthy, run, lift, whatever your thing is, but get out there and be healthy, go move. And so when I found the chance to jump on and it kind of supports the GWAT veterans, it's through runsignup.com. You can find GWAT 100. And if you want to join our group, it's Vets and Their Amazing Friends. Completely stole that from Spidey and His Amazing Friends because that's what we watch a lot of with a 4-year-old in the house. So anyway, the discipline though, we've missed. You have to average 3.5 miles a day, and there's been days that I'm just stupid busy and I can't. And if you miss one, you either double and get 7 in a day, or you got to like do the math and get this 3.5 cut up over the. So we missed I think we're 5 days behind because of the lack of discipline. So this morning I had to get up early to feed some baby goats anyway, and I was like, I better just go run. So I got one out of the way for the day. Hopefully I can get another one because we got some makeup to do. But the GWAT 100 is pretty crazy. It's a fun one. Well, I guess, man, let's talk about your books real quick and the Gun Tea Clinic.
Yeah, I got a couple new books out. So if you haven't paid attention to the podcast, we got the Buck Sweep book. That one sold out. So we had to go to the clinic this last week, and have one book, and you could take orders, but I couldn't give the book away because that's the only one we had left. So we do have another shipment coming in with that complete guide to Buck Sweep. That's been flying off the shelf. It's 175 pages. History of Buck Sweep, how we kind of try to modernize it. The RPOs, the formations, different blocking adjustments that we've made, all Buck Sweep, 175 pages of it, complete guide to Buck Sweep from the shotgun. Then I've got the 0-10 to 10-0 book. A lot of guys have said that really resonates with them because either they've been 0-10 or they've been in a not great situation, or the back half of the book basically talks about going from good to great. So I think that relates to any coach.
Yeah.
So those books have been doing really, really well. Both those are over at fbcoachsimpson.com. Of course, we get the 7.0 if you haven't already got that. 7.0, the update, the modern adjustments we're making in the Gun Tea system. On that note, we are moving all our Gun Tea stuff to a Gun Tea website. So the website is gunteasystem.com. If you're a system owner, in the next month, you'll get an email from me to move your account over to where you'll have system access. That's right now about 80 hours worth of film. Of course, all the books.
There's everything there, man. All the clinics.
All the clinics. Yeah. All of that stuff's in there. So, or if you just, Coach, I'm not that interested, but you have a free PowerPoint over there. We do have that. We got several free resources that are all Gun Tea related that are going to move to gunteasystem.com. So go over and check out the website. We think we made it clean and easy to get to. All the other stuff will still live at fbcoachsimpson.com. We're just trying to make it clean so guys know where to go to get what they want.
Speaking of clinics, which ones do you have left? I know we didn't really talk cities. Do you remember all the ones you have left?
Yeah, I just put out something on Twitter. So I've got a week off here. We're taking Valentine's weekend off because I like to be married. And then we're going to pick up after then. We're going to go Sacramento. Then we go to Houston. Then we go to Ohio. Then we go to Boston. And then we just added Tampa Bay, Florida. My family and I were going to go to spring break in Orlando, Tampa area anyway. Found a school there that was willing to host us. So we're going to come in the weekend before, March 20th and 21st, host a clinic in the Tampa area. So excited to get back to Central Florida and do that. So we got 5 in a row after off this weekend. They are starting to fill up. So if you're interested, we can take school purchase orders. You can go through the website or just email me. We'll get you connected. Promise you, they will be one of the most intensive clinics you would attend. So this is not a social, go find a job type clinic. This is much more scheme based, where you leave with answers. I know y'all are running one in Boston too, Daniel.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm just sticking with clinics here. Joe and I are doing the 425 defense clinic in Boston. It's going to be March 13th and 14th. My family's flying up a few days early to kind of take in the sights, and the kids have never flown. The kids have never been out. Beckett, when he was 2, has gone on a cruise. So he's been out of the country, but it's gonna be big time for those, since they can remember stuff. So it'll be fun to get them up there. We are looking at adding Naples, Florida. I believe the last weekend in April. Going to go down and see PJ Gibbs. So you guys that are fans of his or know, he's been on the show obviously a couple times, done some episodes with us. So we're looking to kind of do a thing down there. We'll get more confirmation on that. Should be this evening as we confirm that one, make sure it's going to happen. But it's looking really good. It's looking real promising. So 2 chances to get the 425 clinic this season or this off season. And then we're going to just try to grow it from there. The cool thing about the 425 clinic in Boston is I'm taking Brady Bradbury with me from here in Oklahoma. He just went, 14-0, 15-0, whatever undefeated season is for a 1A school. So you guys that are looking for, I need a scheme that works at every level. I think that is the 425, especially the way Joe's running it. So Brady's going to come to Boston with us and speak on how he's doing certain things. And then we get Con Chase, who's a guy that's won state championships up there in the Massachusetts area. We're actually going to be at his school. He is hosting us. So going to get the chance to see Joe doing his thing with his own system. I get to come and just be an auxiliary speaker and maybe serve the drinks. I don't know. We'll figure that out. And then a couple guys who've got state championship trophies in their shelves that are going to be telling how they did it and what changes they made from the base system, et cetera. So should be a great time. JoeDanielFootball.com/425 Boston to sign up. If you're watching us live, which there's like a few of you, the early bird pricing goes through Valentine's Day. So you can still get early bird pricing before it closes out. However, the group rate hotel rooms closes tomorrow. So it will close on the 11th. If you're listening to this when it releases in 2 weeks, you missed both of those. And just jump over to the website and see. There's still, the prices aren't bad. They're still going to be, pretty equivalent to any other clinic you're going to go to. But like you said, Kenny, it's way more in depth. You go home with a full scheme to install, not like crumbles of a cookie that you can, use here and there. So I think they're going to be really, really good. Yeah. I think we talked to all the things. Asports.com. Jump over to the website and you can see some of the video boards and stuff they've put up. Get a hold of Mark Bridges, mark.bridges@asports.com. Even if you just have questions, guys, when you contact Mark or if you want to contact Kenny or me, it doesn't mean like, hey, I'm committed to buying a board tomorrow. All that starts with just getting you may be 2 years out, but it may just, what does that look like? What does the package look like? How does that really going to help me? Kenny's got 7 or 8 years of experience to making money off this bad boy. So you may just be asking him what all that looks like. So get a hold of us. It's fine. Even if you never buy one, we'd rather talk to you about it than not. So holler at us about esports. And then, of course, Doug's got Winning Edge Performance Analytics spun up again this year. So jump over there, winningedgeperformanceanalytics.com. When you sign up, use code 20OFFCoaching101 to get 20% off your first year. All the ads are done, man. Let's talk about, we're going to talk in-game adjustments today. So I think we kind of got into this at the end of last season, maybe, but it's one of those things that I don't think you can talk enough about it. And I absolutely love hearing how different guys do it. So I love hearing how you make in-game adjustments. I love learning from my staff what they're looking for, and then kind of I have my way. So first and foremost, let's just kind of define what are we talking about when we're talking about in-game adjustments, Kenny?
Well, for me, basically like what it said. You're making an adjustment that you didn't necessarily prepare to make because you're seeing something different. So we kind of define that as taking what you've prepared and being able to adjust it based off of what you were seeing. Defensively, this could be you prepared for X, Y, or Z, and the offense is, they've adjusted. They've come out in a different personnel package, or they've come out and they've tried to establish something different, or they've come out and they've picked on a different kid than you thought they were going to do. So it's not that your game plan wasn't good, but they've found something. The same thing would flip over to the offense. You might have prepared for a 3-front or a 4-front or a cover this or a cover that, or you thought they were going to play this way based off of the film you'd seen, and they're giving you something, maybe that you had not seen. Or they're very well prepared for you. The last game of the year, we played a team, best defense I've seen in a bit, over at Elkins High School, and they just won a state title. And I think a lot of that was because of their defense. They were really, really good. So they were all over. Of course, they had 11 films. I'm sure they were all over our base stuff. So you had to have adjustments that you could use.
Right.
So to me, in order to do that, I'm glad we're talking about it now in February, because you can't just do that on Friday night. Like you can't
Right.
just on Friday night say, hey, we're going to do this or that. There are things you can do right in the spur of the moment, but for the most part, you've got to have some kind of system, defensively, offensively, special teams wise, that allows you, because usually if you're making an in-game adjustment to something you've never done, I mean, it might work, but probably not. You're probably not going to have a lot of success with that. So you want to make sure you're building things in now that would attack whatever look you might see, and then you think through it. So if you're an offensive coach, you got to kind of put your defensive coordinator mindset on, or talk to your defensive coordinator. How would you stop this? What would you do? And then okay, if this is their move, what's my counter move? Think about chess, not checkers. And you can only do that if there's so many plays. Like if you've got 1,000 plays, you can't do that. But you can do that if you have a small amount of concepts that you're going to live in and be really, really good at. You can build all these adjustments off. Same thing on defense. Your own weaknesses, or talk to your offensive coordinator. What are your weaknesses? How are they going to attack you? In a 3-4 against a spread team, probably going to attack your outside linebackers. That's a very common place to attack.
Right.
But you need to know that ahead of time and have different options that you can give your kids based off of how are they attacking you. And there's several ways you can do that. It could be on offense. It could be play action. It could be an RPO, a different RPO. It could be a blocking adjustment. Maybe they're keying somebody, so you're going to release them a little bit different to take advantage of that key, like a false key. It could be a formation. It could be a new formation wrinkle that, man, they're really struggling with unbalanced, or they're really struggling with trips to a tight end. Whatever that might be, what do I have that I can throw at them? So, they're struggling with this. Now I can go. I didn't plan on running a whole bunch of trips away from the tight end, trips closed, but man, they're having a hard time getting lined up. So my adjustment might be, I'm going to live in this formation because it's giving me some answers that other things did not give me. Or I didn't think I was going to be throwing quick game, but I'm getting 2 over 3. I'm getting, what I want to the trips. Now I'm going to make that adjustment, so that's the idea. You got to have it built in and then call kind of what you see. For a defense, it could be showing it from front. Maybe you bring a blitz and man, it gets home and they just don't have an answer for that. Or when you slide your front, however you're sliding them, they don't really have an answer for that. Or, you've shown too high, too high, too high. But when you're rolling the safety down the box, nobody's accounting for him. So it could be any of these things that you're going to give yourself tools to do. I know you've got questions about when to use them. We'll talk about that later, but
Yep.
you got to build all these things out in February, March, April, May, at least in your own mind, so that you can show them in a game. This year we played, I think, 13 games, and we were showing some new adjustments that we had not shown all year, week 13. When the year we played 15 games, same deal. You always need to have the ability to pull something out when you need it so that you can be successful.
I think, you kind of went to the RPOs and all that good stuff. And there's lots of tags. And that's why I love the tag world, right? I love to live in that world where I can take a base thing and make it whatever I want. But you can be as simple here. Like when you start trying to define an in-game adjustment, it can be who you're reading. It can be the splits on your offensive line. It could be putting in a backup offensive tackle instead of your tight end because we're just blocking with him anyway. Right? There's like a lot of options here into what an in-game adjustment is and why you would need to use them. And that's kind of where we're going to go next is understanding the impact that these things have on the game outcome, right? Basically kind of why you need these. Okay. Why do we need to use in-game adjustments? And I see you have some good stuff. So I'm gonna let you go second on this because you're gonna close that one out for sure. And I won't be able to talk if I let you go first. I think, we have to understand why is like we need to neutralize an opponent's threats or their strengths. So if they're coming out in a different front, if they're coming out in, or they have a kid that maybe they move just one dude around, right? Maybe their free safety has been the guy all year. We evaluated him. We know we checked him out on tape, and now he's an outside backer because they think they can just kind of make a ruckus with him. Or it's a defensive end that came back. Something we dealt with last year was a kid that was never on the roster. And now there's this monster eating up the inside on defense and on offense, honestly. We had to make an adjustment on this kid that we had no idea was going to be in the game. So you can't game plan for that, right? Maybe it's a kid that came back off of an eligibility list or an injury. There's all sorts of reasons why the other team can have a strength, and you need to be able to neutralize it. You've got to have tools in your toolbox to make that something that isn't going to wreck your game plan the rest of the night, even if it means changing your whole game plan, right? And I think that's something we struggle with as coaches. Like, I spent all week getting this ready, and now it's useless. How do I just throw it out? But I think that's kind of why we want to do this is to ease ourselves into that. I can do a few tags. It doesn't feel like I wasted all week. Exploiting weaknesses that you may not have seen until game night. Sometimes kids, Michael Jordan had a flu game. Was that really his weakness? I don't know. You go back and watch that game. He was pretty dang good. Some people talk about maybe it was even a fib, right? And he looked good. But there's going to be kids that just aren't feeling it this week. So you get out there on Friday night, you've ran away from this kid in practice all week because he's supposed to be a stud, but now he's just not feeling it. Or maybe he does get injured halfway through a game. What are my in-game adjustments when I see a weakness of the opponent and now I need to go take advantage of it, right? Once again, I just want to state this does give you kind of a defined way to get out of that. I did this all week. I need to utilize these tools to take advantage, but it's not what I practiced all week. We kind of at Bristow have lived by, like, if we don't practice it, we don't really want to run it in a game, right? So we want to at least practice some stuff, which forces us to carry a small bag, a very inexpensive set of tools that we don't expect to use on game night. But these are just like 5 quick answers to, like, if we had this, we can still pull it out of the bag of stuff we practiced a couple times this week, right? So the kids, at least it's fresh, or maybe we used it last week or a couple weeks ago and we can kind of pull it out of memory. Anyway, I think the impact that these can have, helping you win a game because you're having to take advantage of something, are huge. And I know that you have way better answers, Kenny.
No, I kind of like where you're going, Daniel. I think a lot of it is always going to be scheme based. I'm sorry, personnel based.
Yes.
And you hit the nail on the head with it. What if you knock their quarterback out, the first play of the game? And what do you do defensively then? Do you have a scheme for take advantage of an opportunity? Or you mentioned several times we'll roll into a game and 2 kids are hurt that we didn't know about. It's not like you're releasing an injury list at the high school level.
For sure.
So you get there and, oh man, their stud's not even playing. We were going to double cover him. Well, now what are we going to do here? So a lot of stuff has got to be stuff you've built in. Like, and I think a lot of times coaches, we get into Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and all we do is focus on game planning instead of working on fundamentals. We're going to spend at least half of our time just working on our fundamentals because we don't really know what we're going to see. There are certain things we plan. There's a little bit of a tangent here, but like for us offensively, we want to dial up 5 or 6 new wrinkles every game with the potential of hitting a big play.
Yeah.
And we call those shot plays. That might be throwing it down the field like you think of a shot. That could be a reverse. That could be a draw or a screen or a wrinkle off of a pass concept that we've not shown, but we think we might see. So other than that, offensively, we're just practicing our base stuff. So for us, I think that prepares us better to make in-game adjustments because we're not so game plan specific offensively. It's a little bit harder on defense. It's a lot harder on defense because defensively, you do have to spend a significant portion of your practice on what you're going to see. So it is a little bit more difficult to have a couple things, but our defensive coordinator we visit, I kind of want him to have 2 different things he can go to. Our base plus 2. So if we're going to see a team running option or RPO or something different, what are 2 different looks that we're going to practice during the week that we can give this team? Like Daniel mentioned, some of that stuff, we probably aren't going to use this. Some of that stuff, though, we've got into the game, been like, man, I'm glad we had that, where we could pull it out and we could go with it. But so that's kind of things that we look at. But in my mind, when you're looking at it as a guy really good at changing in game, this is kind of where you look at it. Most of the time that's going to show up around the second quarter into the third quarter. Like if you're waiting to the fourth quarter to make adjustments, probably a lot of problems. So usually you'll notice teams that are good at this around the second quarter, the game kind of changes a little bit. Think about the game Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And I'm not down in the Patriots, but the Seahawks made some adjustments around the second quarter, third quarter offensively, where all of a sudden at halftime, they're moving down the field and getting touchdowns. Like they had made a couple adjustments. I'm sure they'd made other adjustments too, but you kind of saw that show up. Even the Patriots around the third quarter kind of started finding a little bit of something offensively because they were making adjustments. So you can usually tell around that time of the game, that's when those will show up. Because whatever you came out game plan wise, that's the first quarter. Then usually the second quarter is, okay, they've seen your game plan, you've seen their game plan. Who has the next best move? And that's where you see it. So in my opinion, this is how you kind of evaluate if you're good at this or not good at this. If you're not good at this, you say things like, well, next week we'll make that change. That just means you're not ready to make adjustments. It doesn't mean you're a bad person. It means you're not good in this area. Like if you're waiting a whole week to make an adjustment, then you haven't done a lot of work on the front end where you could do that. And I've been in that boat. Like I'm not bashing some coaches. I've been there where I see it and I wish we could change it, but our kids, we've never shown them anything different and they couldn't. And so you're right at that point. At that point, you just got to sync with what you got, but it's a bad feeling. So that's where you don't want to be. I consider that like I was a bad coach then. As far as adjustments, can't make adjustments for a week. Then you're good coaches. Your good coaches come in at halftime and they've got some little wrinkles they can kind of change and make. Pretty good deal. You'll see that a lot of times where a coach will come in at halftime, able to make some adjustments. Ironically, halftime at the high school level is longer than at the NFL level. So you actually have more opportunities at our level to make adjustments than you do at the NFL level. I think great coaches do it between drives. Like they see it in between drives, they can get the word out. Hey, here's what we're doing. Or a lot of times that's because of their play calling, offense or defensively. They see it between drives. Okay, maybe it's defensively. Hey, man, they're throwing flat curl, flat curl, flat. We're giving it up over and over. So let's get out of this coverage and get into this coverage. Let's buzz our outside linebacker underneath the curl, whatever it's going to be. They can make that adjustment between drives. Those guys are really, really talented. I call those great coaches. The best coaches can do it right then in the moment. And it takes a while to get to this place. Think about all the guys that run check with me's, down, set, go, look over. And if you're really good at that moment, you're actually calling something that's going to attack what you're seeing with what you have. Defensively, same deal. You see, they're lined up in trips. Let's get this quick check coverage to go right now in the moment. And that's where we all want to get to. You want to get to, and sometimes you're in the groove or, man, you're there.
Yeah.
But you got to continue to work to get there. But I do want to kind of hammer this part home. If you're not putting in the work schematically as a coach, I'm not talking about getting your kids on the field. If you're not putting in the work right now with whatever your system scheme is, February, March, April, May, you're not going to be able to think through all of the potential problems that you might see. You're never going to hit them all, but you can at least go through scenarios with you and your staff of, like Daniel mentioned, what if they do put this kid here and he's blowing us up? What's our answer? What if we're completely outmatched up front? What if their DBs are so much better than our receivers? They're going man zero. We just don't have any answers. You got to think through that now. Because if you're waiting for that moment to happen, you're not just going to have answers pop in your head. Like it's not just going to happen. you got to work through all the stuff now of what are the potential issues I might see.
Yeah, excuse me. We're all trying to, I think, not catch the crud right now, but here we are. I like what you talked about, the ability of coaches to make changes on the fly, and and you've almost like tiered it there, right? Where these expert coaches can do it from play to play. That's I've been on staffs where it's like, hey, let's wait till halftime because and I don't know that like the size of your school may hurt here too, because you have to have time
It
to take
does.
that kid off the field and tell him we're gonna do this different. Now, if it's schematically and you do live in the tag world, I get you could just tag it. Hopefully you've practiced those tools during the practice week. But no, it's really good because that is I've seen that. We'll fix that next week. Well, what about right now? What about this game? Right. So that's a really good point. Let's jump in the last part here, Kenny, talking about just kind of practical steps that we can make these adjustments. So really the how of all this. How are we making adjustments without overthinking it? You can't go out and be super complicated, or you're going to spend more time trying to make a play call. And then you're going to be the problem, right? Instead of the thing you're trying to fix. So how are you kind of making that stuff happen?
Yeah, let's try to start on the defensive side of the ball first. The one thing I think defensive coordinators are bad about, and I was one, so I know, is sometimes we'll chase ghosts. Like we'll chase things that they're not out
They
there.
could
So,
do this.
yeah, right. And that's the bad world to live in. So I want to make sure I put that caveat out there of, you want to spend 99% of your time, 95% of your time on what you see, you know, but Daniel mentioned it's good to have one or two tags that you hopefully put in during the off season, so you're not having to waste time on a Thursday of something you might not even need. It's good to have that stuff put in back in the summer or back in the spring or back in the preseason, where now it may not be perfect, but you can go, hey guys, remember when we used to run X blitz or X coverage? I know we didn't get to practice it a lot this week, but y'all remember it though we ran it this summer, or we ran it week one, or we ran it whatever. And now you got a chance. You got a chance then to make that adjustment, something you may not have hit. So defensively, I think is a lot tougher in-game adjustment stuff. It can be tougher for you if it's not built into what you're already doing. But I also make this caveat for defense, like make their guy beat you. And I think I talk a lot about defensive coordinators so tied up in being fundamentally sound. Sometimes they're not calling what's in front of them. Like, for instance, their quarterback got hurt. They put a ninth grader or a 10th grader back there who can't throw it past the line of scrimmage and he's scared to death. I don't care about being fundamentally sound in our coverages. Sick him.
Yeah.
Go get him and end the game. Or, yeah, we're fundamentally sound with our coverage, but they got 1D1 and 3 can't catch the ball guys. Well, now, fundamentally sounds great, but let's stop that guy and make the other guys beat us.
Yep.
So I think defensively, you got to kind of think through those scenarios. What are we doing to a backup quarterback? What are we doing to a super stud that they're moving around the field that he's not all they got, but most of what they got? Those are things you got to think through now, like in the off season, so you can have a call or a tag that allows you to get into that. Offensively is a bit easier. I do think like you have to practice all this stuff in the off season, but offensively, I mean, you ought to have built-in adjustments. Like you ought to have, we run flood concept and they're jumping the out. Do we have a little and go tag? We're running whatever we're running. We're running, glance RPO and the safety's driving down on it. Do we have a little and go, or maybe running a post behind him? Have we built that in? Like those are things you should foresee coming. I always, when I get to talk to my kids about money, I always say, I don't know if you know this or not, Christmas comes every year. And if you're not saving money for it, it can smoke you. But that's your fault because December 25th happens every year. Same thing in football. If you're on offense, you're not thinking through how are people going to stop your bread and butter. That's your fault because they're going to try to stop whatever you're known for running. So you've got to think through a lot of this stuff. So we want to adjust this during practice. The way we try to do it is offensively. I'll tell my defensive coordinator usually on Tuesday, that they've got kind of free reign. Like, run what you want to run with the scout team to try to stop us. The fact they know all our terminology and they know exactly what we're running also helps them. But we want that. Like, make me call plays during the week against an unexpected front where I've got to make adjustments, or our kids have to make adjustments, so that the first time we see that is not Friday.
Yeah.
And what we do a lot of times as an offensive coordinator is we line them up where we think they're going to be, and we call the best play call against that. Well, I mean, that's great, but that's not really how it's going to play out on Friday. So you need to practice. Same thing on defense. A lot of times my defensive coordinator, he'll give me 2 or 3 what he calls run whatever he wants to try to beat what we're doing. So if I'm looking at them rolling cover 3, I know I'm probably going to run some kind of in-breaking route and throw it on him, stick it in there on him so he can work with his kids on, hey, guys, they haven't shown this. If they do, here's our adjustments. So now our kids kind of know, okay, this is not something they've shown, but if they get to it, here's our next move. We generally work that on Tuesdays, but you got to practice that kind of stuff. You can't just expect it to happen on Friday when you're showing your kids the same thing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. It's not going to always be the same thing. You got to have coaches know what to look for. Where are you putting your coach's eyes? Who's responsible for looking at what? Offensively, who's watching the play side of the run play? Who's watching the backside corner? Who's watching the linebacker fits or the coverage roll or whatever it might be? You have to assign that stuff, figure out who's talking to who. Same thing on defense. Who's watching the front? Who's watching the back end? Who's watching the linebackers? Who's watching their formations? Who's watching what? That doesn't just happen. Like, you have to tell people, look here. If you don't do it, everybody follows the ball because we're all fans of football and we watch it like we would just watch a game instead of looking at all these peripheral things that might make adjustments. I think you got to be willing to adjust and know how to adjust, not just to look different. So this, I mentioned already, last game of the season, because it's fresh is on my mind, we played a really good defense. Halftime, they were all over a lot of our base stuff. So we were running flood, and they were jumping it. So we put in flood and go. You know how many times we run flood and go? 0.
Probably none.
Not shown that. Never. But our kid understood, all right, I'm going to run a deep break and out route, and I understand what and go means. And our quarterback understood what and go means. So boom, boom, and he's wide open. We also put in, I think we had a little false pull that we put in and worked it during it. We also we always run a shoot route with our wing, which is an RPO. They were all over that. But as soon as he touched the defender, the safety came screaming. So first play out of the half, we said, hey, touch the D end and run vertical. We call that pop. Well, we have it in our playbook, but we hadn't really worked it. We ran it first play of the second half, 25-yard gain, because we saw what they were doing and we were able to take advantage of that. So if I just randomly put in, hey, nothing's working, let's just try this, that's not an adjustment. That's desperation.
Yeah.
And there's a big difference.
Yeah, the old pop pass is one of my favorites. In fact, Cameron's probably tired of hearing me scream at him, throw the pop pass. Yeah. It's open again. And I don't know if it always is, but I just love it. You know what I mean? All great points, man. I think that, how you kind of get this in is a lot of pregame prep. So while you're watching film, I think you need to know what their base stuff is, but you better know what adjustments they've made to situations, right? So that way you can kind of feel this out. Once again, when you have that little bag of tools you carry that are for emergency use only, break glass in case of emergency, in there should be, hey, we saw them one game 6 weeks ago, 3rd and long, needing to have a stop. This was their adjustment, right? So we probably should have something for that. Not that we're going to get it, but if we start seeing it, we know they carry it. So we can go out and make that adjustment. We can be successful against whatever they want to do. But just understand what adjustments they've made, because you need to, just like you, if you haven't practiced it, it's very low odds that you're going to do a thing that you've never shown in a game before. probably the same for them, right? Clear communication system. And Kenny, you've already touched on this a little bit, but can your coaches even spot the needed adjustments, right? The more I've worked with Mike D, the referee, on his podcast, Whistle Talk. If you haven't talked or went and seen that podcast, do. I think as a coach, understanding the rules that limit us, that kind of police us, is great, because I say you can weaponize them. So that's why I got involved with Mike D. But he talks all the time about how, there's 5 refs that are officiating your whole game. Well, how do 5 people watch 22? Well, they all have key spots, right? They practice doing that all the time. I'm watching the leading blocker in a run play. I'm watching the quarterback 100%. I'm watching, the backside defensive backs or whatever. So they all have these keys. So you might just get with your local ref and be like, hey, what are y'all's keys? If you have no idea and no coach in your group knows what to watch, that's a great way to get started, and then just adjust it from there, right? If they can officiate the whole game and get, chastised for missing a block here and there, a hold or whatever, surely you can get your 4, 5, 6, 18 coaches to watch different things and report back kind of what you're seeing.
I would think too, it's also good to know what they're watching, so you know who to yell at.
That's right. That's a good one. Yes. So getting like you said, coach's eyes have to be in the right place, but what are they even looking for? I love that you said great coaches do this by, between the series earlier, because just because I can make adjustments between series doesn't mean the guys around me can see what's going wrong. So great coaches need to develop great coaches, right? So teach your guys what to look at. That's probably one of the most common questions I see throughout the offseason or even in season. I'm with a new staff, my first year in the box. What am I supposed to tell my coaches? And what am I looking for? And it's like, I can't tell you that. The guy that you're on the headset with needs to give you an idea of what he's expecting to be told to him and where your eyes should be. What are you looking for? So if you aren't developing your coaches in that way, if you aren't giving them something to look at, they're never going to be useful anyway. So make sure you're including everybody.
And I know guys aren't seeing this. I'm interrupt you, Daniel. I just found this on my desk. So I know guys can't see this, but like this is our game plan. So if you can kind of see up there, basically the highlighted yellow are the ones that like we think we have all this stuff in. This is what we work this week. What we think is going to work. And on the back of it, you got our call sheet. Well, this blue ink, this was our halftime drawings. Because if you ever go to Elkins, Arkansas, they make you walk freaking 3.5 miles back to the locker room. So you get about a 7-minute halftime. So I'm writing our adjustments as we're going with our coaches. We're having kind of a walking meeting.
Yeah.
As we're going, communicate with our kids, and we walk back. Well, then you have something written down. So, because one of the things I've always found as a head coach is difficult, head coach play caller, is halftime happens, all this stuff, and you come out, we're receiving the ball to start the half, and I hadn't even thought of what's our first play call? Like, what's our second play call? And so writing that stuff down, I think, is important. And doing it between drives is important. A lot of high school coaches, I've noticed, they don't even have a pen to write down what they're going to call, and in games that are tough, games that are tight, that's what you need to be doing between drives.
For sure.
Sorry.
Kudos to you for the adaptability of just having that walking meeting. I know that some people would just be frustrated and throwing a fit the whole way, but
yes,
but at least you were utilizing it. Good stuff, man. Your system. I think your system needs to have built-in answers. And we've probably already said this, and you've probably heard this from me 1,000 times because I do love the tag world so much, but your system is where you can put all of these. And you talk about the and go tag. That's fine. And go works on everything. A glance and go, a flood and go, hitch and go. It can be screen and go. It doesn't matter, right? We love bubble screens and slants and all that good stuff for RPO game. We've definitely just added RPOs where the guy they're trying to read and make a play off of just stand still. We're going to hike the ball and you're going to look like an idiot, like you didn't know the ball was snapped. But you're going to freeze 2 defenders because they're like, oh my God, my key read's not moving. I don't know what to do. I still don't know if this is a run or a pass play. And now we're 3 seconds into outside zone away from you or whatever we need, right? So having those things built in that are modular, they can be used with anything, such as and go. It's limitless. The pop pass, right? You mentioned it already. The pop pass is great for every single formation that you can have any type of 11P look, inline, off the ball, whatever. Shoot, you can put your T in motion and just or shift him out a little bit, and he can run a pop, right? Or Texas route or whatever. Lots of things you can do off of one tag that give you lots of answers, but your system better be something you can communicate. I should not have to put myself in a position where I'm drawing in the sand or drawing on a whiteboard on the sideline to do a quick install with my kids. It should be my play call, the tags allow me to do whatever that is anyway. And the kids have now received that communication and go execute on the field. I think if you are super stuck in one word play calls to the sense that I can't make changes here, I can't do anything here because of what I'm doing, or I just simply can't change plays, I think that's where you're going to get hurt. The other one is educate your players. And this is where I have lived on the defensive side because I like a too high split safety look, which means I put two defensive quarterbacks on the field every play. Both safeties are going to control their half the field. They're going to call the coverages, not the blitzes, but they may have to call coverage around a blitz or wipe a blitz. They may have, you know what I mean? They're going to make changes. You talked about earlier, we're going to have trips checks. I want to get them to a place where they can check every single thing they see based off formation. Now, I may have to make play calls because, hey, this formation, we got this tendency, but I want to make them little quarterbacks on the field for their half of the defense. You can't be there year one often, and you can't be there at every school, but that's kind of my end goal is that's where I want to get to. So educate your players, give them some ownership in what they're seeing, and let them adjust it for you. I still love the story from Stillwell multiple times. I'm going to say like 3 to 5 times that year. We're screaming from the sideline, get the play call, and the quarterback just waves us off. Nope, I got it. And he goes out and gets 15 yards. And you're like, we have struggled to make the offense work all night, and our freaking quarterback sees something, makes the right call, and goes and gets 15 for us, right? That's what you want. We called it moxie. We also had to choose rear a little bit sometimes because you don't wave off your coaches, but also if you see it, run it. You know what I mean? Like we had to have that ebb and flow and that give and take with our quarterback. But that's what you want. You want kids who can say, sure, I'm just the right tackle, but coach, I can't get this down block on this 4-eye. I need some help. We've got to do this a little bit different. Right? It may be a let the guard kick him and I'll wrap around and go do the guard's job. Whatever it is, give them some ownership and let them see what mechanics can help them be successful and let them do that stuff. They can make those small adjustments on the fly. Obviously, you want them to communicate with you, but look, if you can wave me off, go get 15 at a kid. Situation-based tools, and I'm kind of surprised you didn't go here with this, Kenny, but you need to have tools that you, your system, your coaches, your players, everyone understands. And the biggest one is the if-then system, right? You talk about your system all the time. If this happens, then we do this. Great. Joe talks a lot about the Rick Stewart and he memorizing jersey numbers and 54 made the tackle. Well, I know he's the inside linebacker on a strong side. Now we're running this play. Having that built in to where whoever it is that's responsible for making it happen, they can make that happen. RPOs, read plays. We talked counting the box last week. So if that's your tool, your decision-making tool, do that, right? Finding the bubble. That's like old as football, it feels like. Run the ball where they ain't. That's pretty easy situationally based tool that you can build in. And that's kind of where I want to leave this here is just go where they aren't or go where they're leaving, right? So pick one of those and just make success happen. It doesn't have to be super complicated. We talked about this is all about not overthinking it. I don't have to install a new offense at halftime. It's pretty simple. Where are they leaving bubbles? Where are they leaving space? Where's open grass? And I know you're not a read grass, you're a read players guy, but we have to admit, like if I look out and every one of their DBs are underneath 5 yards, there's a lot of grass back there. Even if I do read the player to make that throw, you already said pop pass, right? Mm-hmm. They're going to evacuate a deep third. We're going to take it. If they're going to evacuate a seam, we're going to take it. So go where they aren't or go where they're leaving, and I think you'll find a lot of success. And that's a very simple way to get into how do I adjust what I'm doing now on game day. All right, man, I think we checked all the boxes on this one, Kenny. we got a situation of the week. So it's coming to you. Yep. And we may even both get a little conversation here. We'll see. You prepped, and I know you look, this is your bread and butter. I read this after I typed it up, and I was like, Kenny's going to smash this one out of the park. So I'm throwing you a softball here. You prepped all week for a team that lives in too high. They come out in bear front for the first 3 snaps of the game. What's your adjustment right now? And what are you looking to do before the next series?
Well, first, I hope that we practice this one of the days of the week because we always practice different looks. But let's just say that I was off my game. And so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we practice this specific look. I didn't listen to my own advice. And I walk out and get something completely different. The first thing we're going to do is, we kind of have an idea of what we want to run versus certain fronts. I don't want to give it all away on the podcast, but basically, if we see a certain look, and we talked about the box count, if there's too high, the assumption would be that the advantage is in the run game.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, it's not too high. It's some other coverage. Bear front could be man, could be whatever. We're probably going to look at where, and you mentioned it, we don't look at space on the field, but we do look at numbers on space on the field. So we're saying the same thing. Where are we open? Are they 1/2 on the tight end wing? Are they cover 3, roll into the twins? We're willing to throw the ball. And we do script our first 3 plays. We're probably going to live within that script, although we try to have different RPOs that work off of different looks. But I'm not going to run a call that I know is a dead call.
Right.
A lot of guys will, because we scripted, let's run it and make the change at the next drive. I'm not going to give up a drive. I don't know if I'm stubborn, competitive, or whatever it is, but if I come out play number 2 and it was supposed to be, let's say it was supposed to be Buck, and you're in a bear front and everybody and your mom is down there to stop Buck sweep, we're not going to call that. Like, we're going to go to where is the space, and hopefully within the structure of our offense, we have the play call to take advantage of that. And I've had several games now, at least 4 or 5 games, where the second play of the game was a touchdown because teams were selling out to stop what we were doing. Well, hopefully we have built-in calls. Maybe it's a pop pass or a glance route or a just straight play action or a reverse or a counter that's going to take advantage of what they're going to do. But I'm not a big fan of just, we wrote it down, we practiced it, so we're going to call it now. Don't call something into where they're going to stop it. That's not very good offense, in my opinion. So that's kind of what we're going to do. We're going to call what we see, hopefully. Now, hopefully we're not caught in this, because hopefully on Tuesday or Wednesday we practiced against a different looking front so our kids aren't caught off guard and we're prepared for it.
I love it. Is there anything as you get into that next series that you're talking about with your OC on the headset? Or, well, I know you have an OC, but you call the plays. Or any of the rest of your offensive staff.
Yeah, I think Coach Gould, we're just hiring another one here, Coach Gillerin. I think he's on now. So we spend a lot of time on communication. Usually between series, Coach Gould is handling run game adjustments. So we thought we were going to see a different front, and we saw a bear front. I know we should have practiced it. I know our kids should know our rules, but they're 15 and 17 years old. And so between series, he's over there with them going through, hey, guys, here's what we're seeing, looking at it on the TV. This is going to be our adjustments for our base runs, our pass pro. My other offensive coach is usually looking at, with the quarterback, hey, we thought we were going to see cover 2. Now we're seeing whatever it is. So remember, your eyes go here on this or this. Here are the suggested passes I'm telling Coach Simpson. So if we call one of these, remember this is what you're looking at. If we call an RPO, this is what you're looking at. And then after they've had those conversations, I'm getting the Cliff Notes version to me of Coach Gould says, hey, Coach, we feel good about X, Y, and Z. You can call Buck, but I probably would call from a different formation. He's giving me kind of that. My other coach, my quarterback coach, skill coach, is coming to me with, here's suggested passes we like, RPOs we like, here's what our quarterback is seeing. So those are the conversations that are going on between drive 1 and drive 2. Real quick caveat, we've done a decent job with this. I think the last 2 or 3 seasons we're the number 1 scoring team in the second quarter. And a lot of that I attribute to Coach Gould and my other offensive coaches for being able to do that.
Yeah, I love it, man. It's good. Good to give them a shout out there too, Coach. That's what they like, right? Coaches like them attaboys. Awesome. Yeah, I don't really think that I have anything different. I've kind of taken what you have taught me 2 or 3 years ago about don't go out and script 15 plays. And just so y'all know, we're going to do a whole episode over this in about 2 weeks, I think, over scripts. And so I won't get too much into it now, but script 3 plays and then run all the adjustments. Run your if-thens. Run the, is it an RPO? Is it a run read option? Why would I go to a new play? Like I said, Kenny, if I already know it isn't going to work, or if the first play worked really well and I can just run it again, or throw the RPO off of it because they sold out somewhere, right? So I'm with you there. I think between the next series, you hammered it, honestly. I don't even really have anything to add. It's that conversation with the kids. Look, we've seen this, or maybe we haven't, but your rules ring true. It's why we use rules-based blocking. So it doesn't matter what you see, you should be able to block it up. So it's just maybe even confidence building, just reaffirming that, hey, your rules are going to work here. Excellent, man. Let's jump into sponsors one last time. Don't forget to go over to acesports.com or email mark.bridges@acesports.com. Check out the video boards. Get in now. Now's a great time to let Mark and the gang come over and see what you're trying to get. They want to see your vision. They want to see your dream so they can help you build it in the most efficient way possible. And then, of course, they want to teach you all about the fundraising side. And Kenny's over $2 million or something now fundraised in 7-ish years between 2 different schools. So if putting $1 million in the bank in 7 years sounds great to you, which I don't know a single administrator that's going to hear they can have $1 million in the bank in 7 years, and they would say, "Nah, let's not do that." Okay, that's psycho stuff. So if that sounds good to you, hit us up. Let's talk about getting Ace Sports in business with you. Winning Edge Performance Analytics. I know it's the off season right now, and you're not thinking about in-game analysis, data analyst, but you need to be. You need to be practicing it in the off season. It's a great time to just put all the coaches on the little tablet they would use, run the tape, run your live stream. Okay, you've got a live stream, turn it on, and practice inputting this data for the game in real time. You'll find that it is very doable. 2 or 3 coaches can make it a world of difference, especially when you show up on Saturday morning or Sunday morning, whatever, and your film's tagged out already. You don't have to do all that. It saves you so much time. But the in-game stuff, you can see what's hitting efficiently, what isn't. Where'd you get explosive plays in the first half? We can come back and revisit those. It's good stuff. Forgot to mention Blended Threads in the first piece. Blended Threads LLC out of Choctaw, Oklahoma, or Jones, Oklahoma. It's right in between. They're right on the line. If you're in Oklahoma and you're listening live right now, give them a caller. But even if you're not, it doesn't matter where you are in the nation. Blended Threads LLC, they're doing hats, they're doing shirts, sweaters, pullovers. The thing that Kenny has on, they can do that too. And it doesn't matter what you want to wear. Blended Threads can make it for you. So if you're looking for coaches gear, some swag for the kids, Kenny, I know you're doing a ton with advertising, right? I saw you had like weekly new practice shirts this week with advertisements on them. So if that's what you need to do, holler at Blended Threads and see if we can't get you hooked up. Let them know that the Coaching 101 podcast sent you, just so they know that I'm, worth my weight in salt over here. Who'd we miss? The 425 clinic over in Boston, joedanielfootball.com/425 Boston will get you there. Early bird closes at the end of the week. The group rate rooms, and there's still some left right now, they close tomorrow, so don't miss out on that. Gun T clinics, Kenny went over in the first half, all the places. Go to fbcoachsimpson.com/Gun T clinics, and is that moving over to the guntsystem.com?
It will. Probably this year I'll just leave it on both.
Yes.
So
jump into one. I love the way Kenny's broke down. Click the freaking town you want to go to, and it gives you the hotel information. It gives you the ticket pricing. Everything's right there in one website. Very, very easy to jump in and see where you want to go. So do that. Buy the books. I think we covered it all. That's a lot of advertisements there at the end, but we got them all. Social media. I am at Coach Chambo OK on Twitter/X. You can also find me on Facebook if you're watching live. Daniel Bryce Chamberlain. I don't know all the other stuff. I try not to Facebook too much. You can find me at chamberlainfootballconsulting.com. You can email me at chamberlainfootballconsulting@gmail.com. And don't forget about the Patreon, patreon.com/chamberlainfootballconsulting. If you're looking to learn a little bit about ball, if you want to buy some time, You need hourly meetups just to talk about your favorite beer. I don't care. There's a tier over there for you. Jump into, and if you don't find a tier you like, just email me or DM me or whatever, and we'll make one for you. Kenny, where are you at, sir?
All things FB Coach Simpson. So at FB Coach Simpson at Gmail, FB Coach Simpson on Twitter, FBCoachSimpson.com.
Yours is way easier than mine. I should have done that. I didn't get in soon enough. The podcast is at Coaching 101 Pod on Twitter/X. Great place to watch the podcast live. I want to thank you for being a listener to the Coaching 101 podcast. We'll hope you join us next week as we continue to make the complex more simple. Please consider subscribing to the show so you'll always know when the new episodes are out. We'll leave you with this. It's hard to beat someone who never gives up. No matter the situation, find a way.